Alright, what's up guys, girls, grandma? It's your boy CNK Revenge back here with another video. And today I'm going to be going over some spawns. I know you're going to say this is kind of stupid. What the heck is he doing? Just late into the game, Advanced Warfare is coming out and he's going over the spawns. But I've been playing a whole lot of 8s here lately. And I've been noticing that people honestly don't understand the spawn system in this game, and it's pretty frustrating because it's been out for so long and people still don't understand the spawns. So I figured I'd bring you a video kind of detailing some of the problem spawns people are confused by, and just kind of re-explaining, you know, why people spawn where they do. I'm sure it's probably been beaten to death, but I haven't seen very many competitive players or professional players upload videos detailing the spawn systems very much. Maybe I'm just clueless, maybe they haven't. But yeah, so we're gonna get into that. Before I actually do a little bit of hands-on and show you guys these spawns, I'm just gonna give you a brief explanation of kind of how the system works, so that you'll understand and be able to apply it to your scenarios when you're playing the game. So in Ghosts, just like other games, if you're playing Domination and you have the A flag, generally you will spawn near the A flag or on the A flag side of the map. Also, as with other games, wherever your teammates are, you will spawn with them. I would say the difference between Ghosts and like other games like Black Ops 2 and the original Black Ops, in the original Black Ops, if you had, let's say, C Domination, you would spawn generally right on or directly around C Domination. And as far as the pool to spawn where your teammates were located, you still wouldn't spawn very far away from C Dom. If your teammates were like on the left side of the map, relative to CDOM, then you'd spawn on the left side of CDOM, or the right side, vice versa. But on this game, your teammates could even be pushed up into mid-map and cause you to spawn on them at mid-map, even with an opponent being in the general vicinity. You could still spawn there. So I think that's something that a lot of people tend to misunderstand. And also, as far as blocking spawns, people think that they'll assume that they blocked a spawn and an opponent will still spawn on them, and they'll freak out and be like, oh, why'd he spawn there, or whatever. The reason for that being is, let's say the Ghosts team has 3 players in red on Freight. Let's use that as an example. They have 3 players in red. One of their players is dead, waiting to respawn. You push into red, and the other guy spawns on them in red. The reason that happens is because they have the majority of players in that area, and that dictates spawn. Just like if you look back to Hardpoint, if they had more players in the hill than you did, then they controlled spawn for the hill. Even if you had someone on the anchor, if they had more players in the hill than you did, your team would still not spawn on the anchor. So that's just something to take note. You do generally spawn where your teammates are, even if you were pushed up, unless the other team has a numbers advantage, you can still spawn closer toward mid-map. You generally spawn on the side of the map where your flag is. However, there's a lot of differences in this game. It's not so rock solid, so I'm not necessarily going to be able to go into every scenario and tell you, okay, this and this, so you spawn here. This game is really, the spawns are determined by where your teammates are positioned and where your opponents are positioned, who has what flags. There's a lot of variables, so I'm just gonna try to give you guys the base idea for the reasoning behind the spawn system, and then I'll let you guys just apply that to whatever scenario you're in. So this is my first time doing this sort of thing. I apologize if I kind of skip all around. But yeah, I don't like to plan any of my commentaries or write anything down or rehearse or none of that. I just like to, you know, just straight off the dome come at you guys, just tell you what I feel. So if something I said doesn't make sense, or if I repeat a lot, you guys can let me know in the comments. And I'm also going to be using the broadcaster mode. That way I can fly around the map and kind of show you guys some stuff. There's really no other way to do it in this game. So I'm gonna go ahead and get this started. So I'm going to work on freight domination first, because this is something a lot of people get frustrated with. People spawning beside them, people always shooting them in the back. They don't understand why that happens, and they get really frustrated, and a lot of people tend to rage quit. So, first scenario I'm going to go over is when you're capturing B and they spawn at gate and they kill you, or they spawn at red and they kill you. People get frustrated because, you know, that's a massive game-changing play, and I'm going to show you why that happens. And you're going to have to bear with me because when it goes to halftime, if I'm not through explaining, we'll just have to play through the second half. That's how Infinity Ward wanted us to do it, so yay to Infinity Ward. Okay, so we're on B-Dom right here. We're capturing B. We're laying somewhere on here. And they spawn right around here somewhere. Somewhere in this area. And they just run around the corner, shoot us, nade us, whatever, off of B. Okay, I'm going to explain why that happens. So let's assume that we have C way back over there. So we have C, and we're trying to capture B. The only time that they're going to spawn at the gate is if you have a player that pushes crate side over here. And the reason for that being is their primary spawn would be back white. And let me bring up a little visual here and try to show you guys what I'm talking about. So this here is C. This is B, and this is A over here. So if we have C, we're trying to take B, and our opponents are spawning over here. Then we have spawn presence over here because this is our base, and we have mid-map presence because B is what we're neutralizing. So their spawn would be back over here at A. When your teammate pushes through crates, he's blocking the crate spawn, and if he's looking at A flag, he's blocking A flag. If your teammate gets on A flag and he looks toward back white over in here, then he's gonna block their back white spawn. And what that's gonna do is that's going to keep them from spawning back white, and it's going to push their spawn forwards over this direction. Because he blocked crates and he's over here on their flag, their spawn is going to switch from being back here. It's going to push it forwards, and since you're on B-Dom, you're blocking this area of the map. And then your base is over here, which blocks that. This is the next primary spawn, the secondary spawn, I shall say. And that's why they spawn over here. It's because you've blocked certain portions of the map. Let's say this part of the map is blocked because it's your flag. This part of the map is blocked because you're on it. This part of the map is blocked because your teammate pushed through, and he blocked it as he was pushing through to their base. And this part of the map is blocked. If he pushes all the way through and he looks over here, then it blocks it, and that's why they'll spawn over here. So if you notice your teammate pushing all the way through crates while you're trying to get B, then you need to be very careful that there'll either be someone in white because they spawn back here just before they spawn behind white, just before your teammate decided to push into the flag, and then they ran into white, or they were already in white and then they migrated possibly underground to come and flank you, or if they were in the process of spawning and your teammate was looking at their spawn, then they would spawn at gate. Another thing people get confused by is when they're trying to capture B and they get shot from either green or they get shot from fire or something, and they wonder how, when they have, you know, control over this side of the map, how are they getting shot in the back? And basically how that happens, it's not a spawn, it's because you let one of them flank you. That's the reason that happens. If you have like map control over, you know, this side of the map, they are not going to spawn on you. It's just that one of them was able to flank you and get behind you. So that's why that occurs. The next thing that people get frustrated at is the way the spawn trapping occurs on this game, because sometimes you can barely look at an opponent's base and it will cancel their spawn, and sometimes you can be the victim of a spawn trap. You can be, let's say you're spawning over here at A, you can be spawning behind white back here, and they can be on A, and you kill one of them off of it, and then somebody else pushes it. You just continuously just keep spawning back here. Now, how this game works is if you have a flag, it's your spawn. If it's neutral, then nobody spawns there. So what happens is it's the positioning of their teammates, basically, and I'll bring up the visualization again. If we're spawning over here at A, and our opponents have C and B, then they basically have spawn presence of this whole side of the map. If you're spawn trapped back here and you're just spawning back here, then you don't have any map control, and that's basically giving your opponents, like I said, they will spawn on the farthest advanced player as long as you don't have map control, which their farthest advanced player is going to be on your flag over here at A. And since, you know, you're around him, because he's basically in your spawn, they're not going to spawn directly on top of him, but they're going to, they could spawn somewhere over here by crates, maybe. They could spawn somewhere over here, maybe front white. They could spawn outside the gate over here. They're going to spawn close to mid-map regardless. They might spawn inside bottom red. They're not going to spawn, you know, all the way in the back of the spawn over here, because you have no map control, you have no map presence. And the reason that they're constantly able to keep hopping on your flag over here is because since they're spawning so far up, because you have no map control, then they just keep overextending either through crates or through bottom porter, and they just keep hopping on your flag. And meanwhile they're hopping on your flag, their whole team isn't able to do that. If all four of them went to your flag, then a lot of this map presence that's over here keeping you from spawning on the other side of the map would be gone. So as much as it may look like they're sending their whole team to your flag, it's kind of one at a time or two at a time. And that's what they do. And so, you know, one player maybe sits over in here in green, one player might sit in crates, somebody else might sit front white, and so they're maintaining this line of map control. And then, you know, the other player hops onto your flag, or, you know, maybe when he dies, this guy here joins him on the flag, and then these two other players, you know, front white and over here, they maintain map control. And the reason that's why they're able to do that, you don't have any other spawns, because the game keeps telling itself that they have control of C, they have control of B, you know, they have control of this side of the map, and the game is wanting you to, you know, go fight this flag over here. That's why you're able to do that. If they push through white, then that would remove whoever's over here holding this side of the map. It would open, you know, this side of the map up if he pushed through white, and then instead of you spawning back here in the trap, you would spawn over here Let's see. And yeah, so that's basically how that works. It just depends on where your teammates are positioned and where your opponents are positioned. If one of you maybe manages to escape somehow through here and you get behind them and they don't notice it, then as soon as your teammates start to slay them off of the flag as they're pushing over here, and their map presence, you know, in red or front green, you know, front fire, whatever, diminishes over here, and you're still behind them, then you're gonna start to take over the numbers game, as mentioned before, and then your teammates could start to spawn on you. So I mean, it seems complex when you're playing. You're like, why does this happen? You know, why is blah blah blah? Well, that's the reason. It's just numbers on the specific side of the map. It's just positioning like that. The game's not really so broken. It's just people don't understand the spawn system, and it's something that you and your team will have to practice a lot together. It just takes communication, because if they push one spawn and you don't, then blah blah blah. It takes more teamwork than a lot of like old school games do, where where you could basically just push any side of the map and they'll still spawn on top of their base when you kill them, or relatively close toward their base. These spawns here are a lot more random and a lot more aggressive, I should say. They spawn much closer toward the middle of the map. So that's that. I just wanted to explain a little bit. I'm probably fixing to make possibly a part 2 for Freight, and I'm also gonna go over some of the other maps. I don't want to go too far into detail, because as I said, it's all situational, and I don't want to confuse you guys with a bunch of mumbo jumbo. Hopefully I kind of explained that well enough for you to kind of understand what I'm talking about, and for it to have made sense. Feel free to comment in the comments below. Tell me if I overlooked something and that you want me to explain, or tell me how I did. You know, I haven't done a spawn tutorial video. I don't think I ever have. So this is something new, and hopefully I'm being relevant to you guys. I know it's late in the game of Ghosts, but seeing that so many players still don't understand the spawn system, I figured it was something valid even at this point. So hopefully you guys enjoyed. Hopefully you learned something out of it, and I wasn't just being all random. And yeah, thanks for watching. Stay tuned for my other spawn tutorial videos. The next one I'm gonna do is Strike Zone, which will be interesting because a lot of people don't know how to play that. So that's